For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin the Wednesday edition. It is VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas. He is our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. How are you, my friend, on this Wednesday morning? We've got not one, not two, four guests on the show today, so we got a jam-packed 3 hours, my friend.
Yep, going to be great. New win streak to start today for Whiff Wednesday. We finally came to an end on the winning days in a row yesterday. So a lot of near misses here for Torpedo Bat Tuesday, but right back to it. And I tell you, the weather has been awful as far as some teams trying to get games in. I know Minnesota and Cleveland will finish their suspended game from a couple of days ago and then try and get a second of a doubleheader in as well. But a lot of great action on the diamond. And boy, did we have an intriguing playoff return last night on the hardwood and the ice as well.
So much to get to. Josh Ingles is going to join us to begin hour number 2 from Covers, break down everything going on right now in Major League Baseball. Of course, Sean Little's going to join us in hour number 3 to break down the Pacers and Knicks. Game 1 is tonight in the Garden, the world's most famous arena. Adam Berkey's going to join us here in hour number 3 as well. And, of course, it's Wednesdays with Wes to break down the Charles Schwab. Guess who the favorite is there? Some guy named Scotty Scheffler. Does he ever take a week off, Jensen, to give the other guys a chance, or is he just going to play every week?
Feels like the only one he took off was when he had Bennett, his firstborn. So now that Bennett knows how to stand and maybe walk and play with the scorecard keeper there, he's all ready to go. So for people that don't know, you better start parlaying Scotty Scheffler for win markets with something else, because it's getting to Tiger Woods territory real quickly.
And I believe his son Bennett, who's now won, as you mentioned, took his first steps at Quail Hollow as Scotty was winning the championship. I mean, I don't have any first origin stories like that of how I took my first steps as my dad was lifting the Wanamaker trophy for the very first time. That kid's going to have a lot of stories to look back on with the photo album when he gets older. Let's get to it without further ado. It's time for our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Look good for about 48 minutes, I'd say, for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then the second half didn't look so good. So at least the first 24 minutes, it looked pretty good. They led at halftime by 4, then a huge third quarter by OKC. And this one was really never in doubt. 114-88, the blowout victory here. So the under, that cashes. If you laid the 7.5, it was not a sweat in the second half. It definitely was in the first when you're down 4 and you start to think, Jensen, oh, man, maybe they're not ready for this moment, OKC. And, the 7-game series did maybe tax their legs a little bit. That was not the case in the second half. My question, though, is, and it's something I was talking about with Darnell when I came in this morning, which is, are we worried about Anthony Edwards a little bit?
Yeah.
Because if he's damaged goods, I don't want to say the series is over, but, Jensen, we've seen it up and down throughout the playoffs, right? Steph Curry, you lose him for Golden State, you're gone. You go back to the Celtics injury, was it Jason Tatum? Well, maybe they were going to get ousted anyway. But injuries have really played a big part of the second season, and I do wonder if he is not 100%, do they have any chance at all of winning this series?
Yeah, I mean, they have a chance. And again, we've looked at some Game 1 aberrations throughout this NBA postseason. And, of course, you would hope, as a Timberwolves fan, that you shoot better than 35% from the field, 30% from distance. That's where you start. We got to make some shots. And the way Julius Randle was going in that first quarter, heck, the first half, 5 threes, you're like, okay, if anyone can kind of stem the tide here until we get Ant back and at least in a position to contribute, we should be in good shape. All that being said, JVT mentioned to us yesterday that the Thunder had been playing about 5.5, 6.5 players. And, if you look at really the box score, there's only 2, maybe 3 guys that you looked at for the Thunder and like, okay, that's who we got to worry about. All that being said, if you don't have Anthony Edwards, then I don't know if Minnesota really has anyone else to turn to go back to your original point. I do think the Timberwolves, though, get back and equalize this series. I think I'm going to lock in. I'm not even worried about the spread. I think I'm going to take the money line plus 260 right now at DraftKings. I think they'll get back to it. One of those aberrations, as I said, that I don't think they shoot as poorly. And even if the worst case hits and Anthony Edwards is not there, it almost feels like Game 7-ish for them to try and at least get one here in OKC.
Well, that'd be if they could. If he's not able to go, we'll figure it out again. Came back to the game with that twisted ankle in that first quarter, but did not look like the same guy going forward. But boy, if they could rally without him and muster up a second game performance here, that would be sensational. SGA, of course, 31 points. But maybe some home cooking early in that one, too. I saw some consternation on X from many here at the network as well, as far as like, man, seemed like they were getting some whistles in their favor as well. They're pretty good. They don't need help from a little home cooking, but they might have got some there to keep them in that game, even though they trailed by 4 at the break. So we'll get to Game 2 numbers later in the program. Again, Game 1 tonight is the Pacers and the Knicks. Game 1 in the Eastern Conference of the Stanley Cup playoffs began last night, and Florida, they did not need the rest, apparently. They go to Carolina. Relatively easy victory here, 5-2 in Game 1 of that one. And I think our worst fears are realized if you looked at the numbers before this began. It was about $1.25 on the Florida side. And we thought, man, maybe if Carolina, the rest of the team, get Game 1, come back in, this is close to a pick-em. It goes the other way now with this 5-2 win. And I guess, Jensen, if you're the reigning defendings and you win in Game 7 like you did north of the border against Toronto, maybe that just fuels you. And again, maybe we'll see that attrition towards the end of the series if it goes long. But now when you win Game 1 in dominant fashion and you grab home ice right away from Carolina, we all know you talk about how important it is for Minnesota in Game 2 there. This is going to be really important here for Carolina to have a much better showing in Game 2.
Yeah, and boy, this was, as our great friend Tom Hamilton would say, a swing and a miss. I really thought Carolina would be able to exercise some demons. Brandon Valesky, our esteemed producer, adding one of these startling notes, if you will. Carolina now 0-13 in their last 13 conference final games.
Ooh.
Not like 0-3, 0-13. And then the Sage veteran, Jonathan Davis, a great friend of our program, giving me this nugget this morning. Panthers now 9-1. Florida is. Overall, when they win Game 1 of a best of 7, and they're a perfect 6-0 when starting out on the road. Woo. So if you want any more salt in the wound as a Hurricane fan, that is not a nugget you want to be hearing this morning.
Yeah, it all looks like now. And look where that series price jumped up to. Remember, it was $1.25 yesterday, and now it's $2.40. So, look, if you really think Carolina's live here, I'm not going to walk you off, taking a $2 2-1 shot here on Carolina to get back into it. Just doesn't look like there's signs. And when JD with those numbers, with the Hurricanes now 0-13, 13 straight conference finals games, I know they were close in a lot of those, some overtime ones in those losses, but still losses are losses. There's no other way of hiding that fact. So 0-13, and again, 9-1 for Florida overall when winning Game 1. Looks pretty good for the reigning defenders to get through. Tonight's going to be Game 1 between Dallas and Edmonton, and we'll break this game down in further detail here in the next segment. But very quickly, you do like the Stars tonight here, and you've already locked in that play, a little bit of what we talked about yesterday, too.
Yeah, and again, for people that couldn't join us yesterday, we stick with the Stuart Skinner mantra here. Yep. When it's games 1 through 3, he is a no-show. When it's game 4 and on, now we can start really backing an Edmonton Oilers side that is really going to find out what they're made of here with Dallas trending so well. And I think Dallas now at the beginning of this postseason, it is such a stark contrast, isn't it, Dave, from looking how they finished and then having to go the distance against the Avalanche. It feels like that is the cement wall that they were able to get over instead of running face first right into it. And what looked to be just a tragic end to their regular season, how awful they had played. they may be playing as well as anyone right now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I do like the Stars at home. Again, if Stuart Skinner is a little nervy early, love Mikko Rantanen and company to try and pour it on and put this one out of reach.
We're going to get to the Daily Diamond later on in this hour as well, but some takeaways quickly from Major League Baseball last night. Some really bad losses out there, like let's say the Reds. You know I was going to go there 1-0. You can't score against Pittsburgh. You just need 2 to beat those guys because the Pirates can't score, and yet it's 1-0 there. How about the Orioles? You fire your manager. You still haven't won. 8-game skid now. They lose 5-2 in Milwaukee, and Seattle somehow gets shut out on the south side of Chicago, 1-0 in the final there. Any bigger takeaways from some of those games? Because I look at the 1-0 for the White Sox beating the Mariners, and I go, you got to be kidding me, Seattle. Like, again, it's one game, but it's still the Sox. Same thing for the Reds. You're losing to the Pirates when they can't score. Again, we always talk about it. The games matter the same here as they will in September. These are ones you look back on again. Man, this game could come in handy in about 3-4 months.
It will, and I think the stark reality is we can probably say curtains for the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, man.
8 in a row they've lost. You never want to eliminate a team before the calendar turns to June. At least one that I think a lot of us thought was positioned from a talent standpoint to, if nothing else, compete. That's not the case, and there's no end in sight right now. Really a lackluster group. As I said, longest losing streak right now in Major League Baseball. A run differential of -89. Like, that's worse than Chicago. That's worse than the Athletics. It's not as bad as Colorado, but it is worse than Pittsburgh and Miami. And I'll tell you what, ownership deserves, and that front office deserves, as much criticism from that Oriole fan base for not going out, bolstering that rotation, doing what was necessary to have them run it back and be right near the top of the American League.
Okay, at the beginning of the year, they were just over a 2-1 betting underdog to win the division. Jensen, they're 50-1 now to win the AL East. 50-1. And the other teams in the division aren't that good. It's all about the Yanks.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, how the mighty have fallen there in Charm City. When we come back, more NBA and NHL. Just getting it started. It's VSiN By The Books.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. Going to get to the Daily Diamond here later on in this hour. Also start our breakdowns, continue our breakdowns of the schedules in the NFL with 2 of the high-profile teams today. Going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs. Jeff Schwartz going to join us here and give us a thought on that as well from our conversation in the GM Shuffle. And then America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. We'll break them down in earnest as well. But I did want to get to Game 1 tonight. It's going to be in the Garden, and it is the world's most famous arena, Madison Square, and it is a different environment. And I know a lot of people from the outside looking in go, oh, man, it's New York, it's a rabid fan base, it's Spike Lee, it's all of those things. Jensen, does that factor in at all in your overall handicap of the Indiana Pacers? Because didn't they go to Madison Square Garden last year? And I know it was an injury-depleted team and beat them in a Game 7 in the Garden way back last year. Like, it seems like people have already forgotten that we just saw this series a year ago.
Yeah, and again, when you look at where the recency bias is now, yes, the focus is on the Knicks and obviously a chance to get back to the finals for the first time since the early 70s and win it, to put that bluntly. I think also for Indiana, it kind of that that mantra of like, all right, everyone else is kind of just coronated. It's the Knicks in the finals, and it's the way it's going to go. You look at what Pascal Siakam has done throughout not only the regular season, but in the postseason in tandem with Tyrese Halliburton. It's been a great 1-2 punch. Can the same be said in this round now for Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns? There's a Mikal Bridges. What does New York do when the eventual pacer runs happen? Because I think that's one thing I look for in the handicap here, Dave, is we know that the Pacers want to play with pace. We want to know how fast can they go and how much they want to try and wear down the starters for the Knicks. Conversely, if the Knicks play a half-court game, they're fine with that. Let's muck it up. Let's make it like the old 90s,
Sure.
91 to 88, those kinds of games. If the Pacers have the kind of shooting from distance they did against the Cavaliers, and especially in first halves, this is a real problem, I think, for the Knicks. So anxious to see how the Pacers handle what is going to be just a bananas environment. And yes, from an athlete standpoint, you already know that's going to be there. And sometimes just getting out in those first couple of minutes, Dave, you're like, okay, just we want to be able to feel it. We want to be able to get into rhythm as quickly as possible. Let's execute in the half court. Let's get a couple of transition buckets and try and take the crowd out of it. So can't wait to see one of the great all-time atmospheres come back to life tonight. Going to be a lot of fun to watch.
And for the series pricing here, Knicks are about $1.45 series favorite. Obviously, 4.5-point favorites tonight. You mentioned that total of 223.5. What I always find hysterical, and I can't wait, we're going to catch up with Sean Little again later on this program right there in New York City, is that the narrative street of Coach Tibbs. And again, I was in Chicago when he was there, and you heard it there in Chicago, you heard it in Minnesota, right? Jimmy Buckets is up there. And there are certain guys that feel like they like playing for Tibbs, like a Jimmy Butler. Maybe some other guys, they don't like it as much because he's going to work you. So those narratives go away when you win. I'm not hearing anybody say now that Tibbs runs his guys too much, right? If the legs look old later on in the series and the young Pacers run them ragged, are they going to blame this on Tibbs? Is this all going to come down and back to the coach if for some reason the Knicks don't win this series?
I don't think so, but it is one of those paralysis by analysis points of, all right, throughout the end of the regular season, our great colleagues here at the network, I know JVT talked about it, just being a limited rotation. Zach Cohen kind of highlighting that, all right, they've got to find extra guys off the bench. They're going to be able to help facilitate. So to me, again, it goes back to what Indiana has done this postseason and recently against who we thought, Dave, was probably the best team in the Eastern Conference. And even the way that Boston was with a healthy Jason Tatum, were either of these teams going to be able to provide resistance? We have our answer with Indiana. Can they turn the trick yet again here in a hostile environment? You take game one here. You think pressure was high before. Wait till you see Narrative Street for the Knicks trying to even the series in game two if they fall tonight.
Can you imagine? This city, it'll just be amazing if that happened tonight and Indiana goes in there. It's going to be the sky is falling all of a sudden. I mentioned coaching here because, Jensen, I feel like certainly in the NFL, you wager on it. I mean, you wager on coaches so much more, I think, in the NFL where you trust the coaches to be able to get the most out of these guys. Rick Carlisle is a championship coach in his own right, having won in 2011 back in Dallas. Remember, that was the LeBron series where Dirk Nowitzki feels like thousands of years ago. I know. But he does have a ring on that bench. Do we not talk about Carlisle, the style that they play, and give a little bit of credit to them? Because, again, if the Knicks lose, you're right. Their narrative would be it's the Knicks. But we don't necessarily want to look to the other side and go, hey, maybe the Pacers got something going here with this style that they play that Carlisle is implementing.
Yeah, that is something to watch. I also think that in our handicap yesterday of looking at this series, if we felt that the Pacers were a team that not only could beat the Knicks but win it all, instead of taking the future price, do you look to potentially play a Halliburton for Finals MVP or a Siakam? I think Siakam's still available at 35-1. If you feel the Pacers are the team that ends up running the table here, maybe it's a better way to maximize potential profit going there, because you would anticipate those two guys have to be at their very best, not only win this series, but to beat either OKC or Minnesota.
With all due respect to OKC and Minnesota, right? And again, if Anthony Edwards is compromised and OKC rolls them in, 4 or 5 games, this is the series. This feels like, and by the way, this is the series for the NBA and the ratings because it's the Knicks. And I know it's a smaller town team in Indiana, but this is going to play more than arguably the finals will play because it's the Knicks, especially if the Knicks don't get out of this round. So all eyeballs are going to be on Madison Square Garden tonight with Game 1 of the Knicks and the Pacers. So again, with the NBA playoffs heating up, check out our partners over at ProfitX. They're offering up the best odds all playoffs long. They're a peer-to-peer sports exchange group available in 40 or more states. You're going to be able to make your sports picks against other fans and not the books. So you're going to get better odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. So download ProfitX today. Use the code VSiN and earn up to $200 in profit cash over your very first month. Again, that code is VSIN. So while all eyes will be there in Madison Square Garden tonight in the NBA, the hockey world will be centered on Dallas tonight as the Oilers come in for Game 1 of that series. And again, kind of tongue-in-cheek yesterday, we're talking a little bit about Canada's last hope. It is Edmonton to try to hoist that cup and break their string of not having a cup here north of the border for quite some time now, decades as we go. And Dallas does feel like, right now, minus $1.30 in Game 1, whereas the series price is pretty evenly matched, which is interesting because if the numbers are saying Dallas is the smaller favorite, I'm surprised that the series price is even money, $1.10 either way here. Does that surprise you at all that Dallas with home ice and yet the series price is basically a pick'em?
Probably not, just knowing what we have talked about from Edmonton's side with the firepower of a Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and also just kind of those waves of scoring chances that they brought through from their first couple of rounds and coming back, even that first round. We said it and bears repeating now a couple of weeks. They're like, hey, if you feel like Edmonton has got any hope whatsoever, now's the time to jump on them. And here's why you do that, because they have that opportunity and that crooked number to be able to hang at any point, regardless of goaltender. Also, though, I do feel the Jake Ottinger angle is really important, not only how we comparatively put it with the Pacers in a Halliburton or a Siakam to be finals MVP.
Sure.
Conn Smythe here now for Jake Ottinger. Again, if you want to play it today, still, I think available at, let's see here, 14-1.
Yep.
And then, Rantanen at 4-1 is probably not playable at this point. However, goal scorer, if you think that Rantanen continues, you could do goal scorer in Dallas to win tonight on the money line. You could do Rantanen a point or 2 points and the Stars to win. But if you're an Edmonton backer, at some point, Connor McDavid has to really have one of those games, right? One of those, okay, this is the reason why you're arguably the best player in the NHL. Does that happen tonight? I don't think so, but if there's an opportunity for it, I think Edmonton wants to try and get out early and take that home crowd out of it.
Normally, I wouldn't say take the extra 80 cents on a player to win the Conn Smythe versus the team to win the Stanley Cup. But right now, Edmonton is plus 270 to win the Cup. You can get Connor McJesus here plus 350 to win the Conn Smythe. If they win, he's going to get it, right? We talked about, like, as much as you want to say that Stuart Skinner's live with a long shot ticket, it does feel like when you win it last year and you did not win the Stanley Cup, they want Connor McDavid. If they win it, Edmonton wins it, he's going to win the Conn Smythe. I just think it's as simple as that. So you might want to take that extra.
Draisaitl 11-1 too.
Draisaitl, and he is playing. Right now, you would say the numbers could bear out to Draisaitl's side, but I feel like the heartstrings will tug at Connor McDavid if they do hoist that cup. All right, when we come back, let's talk some baseball. The Daily Diamond is up next.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here with you on a Wednesday. Going to get to some NFL schedules coming up next with Kansas City and Dallas, so stay tuned for that. We'll break down their win totals. But without further ado, and I love where you're going to begin this today. You're going to see it in about 15 seconds, America. It's time for today's edition of the Daily Diamond. Yep, I'm the guy watching Pirates and Reds baseball in May, trying to stay up for Royals and Giants at night. And it goes into where you begin today, Jensen. And I love what you've done here. Kind of the teams on the outside looking in. But to kick it off today, maybe there's some hope for these teams to maybe, if not win the division, sneak in with a wild card?
Yeah, contenders and pretenders kicks off Daily Diamond here on a Wednesday. And I just tried to look for perhaps a value selection in both the American League and National League and maybe a longer shot dark horse candidate as well. So let's start in the American League. Royals plus $1.05. Again, bears repeating, you and I both picked them to win the American League Central. Are they still in contention for that? Absolutely. 5.5 games out of the Detroit Tigers, but still plenty of time left here in the season. That being said, the offense got to pick up a bit. And I think getting a bit healthier in that pitching staff overall will do wonders for them. But the fact that they're here right now with what's happened from an inconsistency standpoint with the bats, that's pretty encouraging. Now, the Rays, who came back, you want to talk about a bad beat. Astros on the run line last night for me, late into that one, and then the bullpen coughs it up. Tampa walks it off. Okay, they're 6.5 back in the East, but right now they're 4 games back of the final wild card spot held by the Kansas City Royals. And so with Tampa and Kevin Cash, they always find a way, Dave, to be right in the conversation, be right in the mix. They're very proactive at the trade deadline and even before it. If you remember last year, it was Aaron Savali who they traded to the Milwaukee Brewers, and that was about a month before the deadline. So something to think about there. And then finally, when we look on the National League side, the Diamondbacks, I had picked them before the season to make the postseason, or at least take a flyer on them. And our Reds, 5-1. Still, I think it's an incredible value when you look overall with the Reds just 4 games out of a playoff spot. The Diamondbacks 2.5 beginning play tonight against the Dodgers. So all 4 of those teams, I think with the caveat of the Rays, maybe the lone / pretender. Yeah. The rest of them, I think, very much in that contending market.
As a player, Jensen, I'm curious because, again, media, fans, certainly what we do in the gambling industry where we're trying to prognosticate numbers now for September, right? That's why you're giving these out now. Do players look at this? Do they go, man, we're 4 back of a wild card in mid-May, or they go, man, we got 162. Let's just go worry about winning today. How do the players view this as? And I know it's different from the fans and certainly the media writ large.
Yeah, I think for us, we keep our head down for those first couple of months, and you get 45, 50 games in. That's the first time you may pick up your head and start to look overall at your body of work, and that's not only individually but also as a team. This is usually the time where front offices are making calls around the league to see what potential market value is for guys that they may have interest in, or they may want to start kicking the tires on a little bit. So not only this time, Dave, but you hear a lot when we get to the end of July and that trade deadline, guys that were eventually dealt were talked about at the winter meetings from last year. So those conversations can go way back, and then teams will revisit that once they understand in real time whether they're a viable playoff team or not.
So if you had a conversation in December, January, and they're like, hey, just hold that thought. We'll get back to you. Yep. Let's see how things play out. Like for the Orioles, for instance, if their season really is starting to look like it's already done here in May, maybe those conversations, those phone calls start to resume. What do you got for us? Maybe for dating sites out there, but in a baseball parlance.
We're pretty good on the movie quote side. If Kelly Bidlin's up, I think he'll appreciate this. Again, we like our movies. We like our music. Let's give a little love, shall we?
Yeah.
To maybe some of these teams. Let's swipe left or swipe right. And Dave, I give you the floor. All right. So I went through all 6 divisions, and I just threw out most of the teams that are leading the division right now. So swipe left, swipe right. Let me offer you, and for our listening audience, let me offer you 2 divisions that I think are quite fascinating.
Okay.
The first one is the American League West. Seattle currently leading that division right now, but would you rather swipe left on the Astros plus 210 or the Rangers at plus 260?
I really feel like the Astros are getting this done a little bit with smoke and mirrors. And we mentioned it yesterday. Right now you're missing the big bat in the middle of your lineup. And, you move on from Tucker last year. I just wonder if this offense and an aging Jose Altuve, if they're really good enough to keep this going. I love their pitching, but I think I like the Rangers even more. So at the longer price at plus 260, I think I'm going to swipe right on the Rangers and finally give up on the Stros. And oh, by the way, last year here in the network, you remember the Astros got off that terrible start, and I played them at about plus 360 to win the division around this time. And they came back for me and easily won that division. I'm going to Paul Sorvino them this year. I got to turn my back on you, Houston. And I'm going to go to Texas. Maybe it's the Jacob deGrom love, since this is a swipe right thing, and I love Jacob deGrom. I cannot pass on swiping on deGrom and the Rangers. Give me the plus 260. But the bats have to wake up there in Texas as well, right? Because the pitching's good. But again, you got to score some runs. Same problem for H-Town. But I'm going to trust Texas in the longer term at the bigger number.
Yeah, I do think that's the way to go. Also in pocket for VSiN Pro subscribers, already on that over 7.5 for Texas and the Yankees tonight. That's Jacob deGrom, Ryan Yarbrough, even money on the over 7.5. So I do think the Ranger bats do wake up. Let me give you one more.
Okay.
I would go Cardinals Reds for you, but let's stay in the West.
Okay.
Because I do think the Dodgers are a bit vulnerable here.
Wow.
And the Padres, I still mind-boggling to think these prices are available. Swipe left on the Padres plus 750 to win the National League West, or do you take a long shot on the Arizona Diamondbacks, swipe right, and go 9-1?
Here's my concern with San Diego, and it's their pitching looks fantastic. Again, front end pitching, and then you look at the lineup and you go, "What's not to like?" When you got a Tatis and a Machado in the middle of it, right? What are they going to do at the deadline? Like, remember those rumblings about Cease? And I'm like, they're not really going to sell, are they? Like, they can't. They're too good. I know the D-backs are not, and I do feel like their lineup should be able to hold you in there. Maybe they need to go get an arm. But San Diego is a team I don't know that I can trust before the deadline here. If they move on from a guy like Cease and I grab a ticket at plus 750 to win this division, that ticket's dead, right? So I think the D-backs, ironically, even though they're a little bit longer shot now at 9-1, I think I might trust their front office a little bit more right now to add. And maybe San Diego, the best they do is level out, and this is what you have. But I think Arizona still could add. Give me the 9-1 on the Snakes. And remember, they just get ridiculously hot at junctures of the season. We saw it again last year and 2 years ago as well. I'm going to take the Snakes at 9-1. Do you like that play, or would you go San Diego?
I've got in pocket Padres 13-1 to win the National League, so that would be a monetization ticket. So I don't think I'll double dip there. It is still fascinating to see that price, and the Padres begin play today just a game and a half.
Wow.
Behind the Dodgers for the West.
Wait,
All right, last one for you.
Wait, they're not going to trade those Cease, right? If GM Jensen Lewis is not dealing,
so.
Okay.
I'm not, just knowing that you need those arms to neutralize.
Yes.
The Dodgers or the Phillies, the Braves, the Mets. You're going through big-time lineups, and you need big-time swing and miss guys. Speaking of big-time, we are heating up college baseball, men's conference tournaments beginning yesterday. Here are some teams that I would offer you, Dave, at prices right now. This would be to win the College World Series. Yes, bias aside, my Vanderbilt Commodores are peaking at the right time. And so 20-1 on a team that has, by the metrics, the best pitching staff overall in college baseball. You need to be able to pitch to advance to Middle America, and they've got as good a staff as anyone on that list. I'll tell you two teams that really stick out, and they'll be a handful if they find their way through. Down to Florida and Florida State. Okay, Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida has been phenomenal. That team started off just dismally in SEC play. They have rallied to get to 500. They'll be a force to be reckoned with if they don't host a regional as a 2 seed in whichever region they go to. And Florida State, line in the weeds, that is incredible value for one of the better offenses and pitching staffs overall in the country at 35-1. Anxious to see where the ACC ends up as far as participants in Omaha.
My one question, who's closing for Florida State? Is it Jameis Winston?
It is not Jabo wins, thank God.
35-1, I might have taken a nibble. VSiN's hitting the road here in June for the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. We're going live from June 12th through the 14th. It's going to be broadcasted straight from Rocco's, the iconic home of the Jell-O Shot Challenge. Jensen, you going to take one of those Jell-O shots, or is that...
Hell yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Catch Money Moves, follow the money live right there from Omaha. Going to bring you the sights, sounds, and best bets from the entire tournament. If you're in the neighborhood, stop by, say hi. Maybe you get a Jell-O shot with Jensen Lewis. Who knows? When we come back, we're talking some win totals and some NFL schedules. The Chiefs and the Cowboys are on the clock.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back. VSiN By The Books. Going to have Josh Ingles join Jensen and I coming up at the top of hour number 2. But we do want to wrap up hour number 1 today as we keep looking into the NFL schedules now that the releases are out. 2 heavy hitters. Well, one is a legit heavy hitter. That'd be the Kansas City Chiefs. And then a team that I'm hoping might be a heavy hitter this year, the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to the Cowboys here in a second. But when you go to 3 straight Super Bowls with the chance to win 3 straight Super Bowls, you should begin with the Kansas City Chiefs today. They come up short last year, losing to the Eagles. But still, if you kind of look at what they've done, it's been remarkable. I thought last year at 15-2 in their record for a 17-game stretch was remarkable, Jensen, because I didn't see this team being that dominant. Now, they were the master of the one-score game. They figured out ways to win. That's what great teams do and great coaching. We talk about betting on coaches here. Andy Reid always feels like a bettable coach. This year, their win total is sitting at 11.5. It is even money. Juice to the under, if you want to play that at $1.20. It's even money to the over at 11.5. Before we break it down, I want you to hear from Jeff Schwartz on the GM Shuffle with me this week and his take on this Chiefs schedule. Take a listen.
I'm not betting the under, but this is one of the teams I could see a 10-7 season. I mean, I understand. Look, exhaustion happens. Like we see it in sports all the time. We saw in the basketball game with the Nuggets. Like they just get tired at some point. That's the end of it. And there's certainly the Chiefs play 8 primetime games. They play in Brazil on Christmas, on Thanksgiving. It's a taxing schedule. It really is. But their road games are not hard. Right? They play in Brazil, play the Giants, they're at Jacksonville. Their Buffalo's difficult, as we know. When they're at Tennessee, like they're at the Cowboys. I mean, it's a manageable road schedule outside of their division.
A great conversation with Jeff. And I did find that interesting, Jensen, of the road games, and starting with the one in Brazil on September 5th. You kind of gain that, right? A divisional opponent. They're the only team in the league that gets a divisional opponent as a road game on a neutral. That is a benefit. But Jeff looks to the under at 11.5. How do you see this playing out?
So I think I already like the Chargers there in Brazil in week 1, just knowing that if there is any team equipped to be able to kind of get off to a great start and really cause some problems for Kansas City before they get into a groove and figure things out, that would be a week to target. If you think about where their opening stanza is overall, the first 6 games, we would anticipate 4 potential playoff teams in the Chargers, the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Lions. All that being said, I wonder if those primetime, games are ones where guys just don't have, and I'll side with Jeff on a couple of things. They've done it so much. Like, is the luster kind of gone? Is this no longer an adrenaline game, for them? Also, what does the offense look like? I think that's probably the one thing that I am keyed in on for Kansas City very early. What's the offensive dynamic? This, we think, is Travis Kelce's last ride here. What is the involvement of the receiving core, and how is the dispersion there? What's the run game going to look like behind Mahomes? And where's the drive from getting absolutely embarrassed in the Super Bowl? Like, we heard nothing but three-peat. This is what we're focused on. And that takes a lot out of you, Dave. What's the motivation like now here where you just got slapped around, punched left and right? I'm anxious to see from a morale standpoint what this group looks like in the first 6 weeks of the season.
It's fascinating because they've basically played for some teams that haven't made the playoffs in the last 3 years. The Chiefs have played 10 more games, almost more than a half of a season than some of those teams. So you wonder, like, that cumulative effect of playing those extra. We saw it with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? That once it finally came to an end, it came to an end. I mean, like, you get those tired legs of playing all those extra games. It's great when you go back-to-back like Tampa Bay did in the Cup, but you go 3 in a row for the Chiefs. I don't know that I want to bet the under at $1.20. It's the only way I could look, though, is to under 11.5, that it does feel like potentially a 10-win team. All those primetime games, I do wonder, though, if that gets you up more, that it's not your mundane 4 o'clock East Coast time, playing there in the Midwest on a regular Sunday, that you do get all those high-profile games. You don't want to be embarrassed, that's for sure, if you're Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But, man, there is a world that we live in that they start off the season 2-4. I mean, that's a very real possibility, right? And let's say if everything goes wrong against the Chargers and the Eagles, and then the Ravens in Week 4, and then the Lions in Week 6, you're banking on those Giants and Jags games, and that's a Monday Night Football game, by the way, against Jacksonville, prime time for Duval, so they're going to be hyped up. Like, you're hoping 3-3, 4-2, realistically, but you could be looking at 2-4 before you get to that middle column. You got to get some wins there before, again, you get to the end of the season here. So I do look at the Chiefs. I don't want to fade Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but if you were to play them, the only way I could play them is the under at 11.5 wins. Now, let's get to it. Not my team, not your team, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. I do think it is a slap in the face that the total's sitting at 7.5. Now, the juice has gone up. This was basically even money when it came out about a month ago, and now as the schedule's out, you're seeing minus $1.30. So the Cowboys are taking money in the marketplace to the over. They are a popular team. So all kidding aside, some of that could be public money. But I've heard a lot of people, like our own Matt Humans here in the network, that do like the Cowboys. Certainly Week 1, getting the 7 against the Eagles. Do you see 8 wins in this schedule for a 7-team win a year ago, but predominantly played without Super Dak Prescott?
All right, I'm not doing this because you're my partner in crime here, and I respect the fandom. I respect the loyalty. The only way I play this is an alternate over win total. I would love to see. I think I look at the over 9.5 alternate win total.
Wow.
And let me tell you why. Because yet again, back on the no one's going to give Brian Schottenheimer any respect.
Yep.
If you pull the upset on opening night, yes, the national narrative is just going to be exhausting. I'm sorry I have to say that. But the fact that you would get that win really sends a boatload of momentum for you into that Giants game, which on paper, at home, with that group, you should be, it may be ugly, but you should be able to win it. The Chicago spot is a trip-up spot for me, only because if you're 2-0, you're feeling yourself a bit, and that could be where Ben Johnson gets the better of you. Sunday Night Football at home, not worried about them in prime time. Anything after 4:25, you feel a bit better about them. Then in that Week 5 and Week 6 stretch. So this is where I put my survivor hat on. Anywhere here at home that you would feel comfortable taking the Cowboys from a survivor standpoint. And if you do, I would be shocked if you take them before the bye at home outside of Arizona for Monday Night Football. That's the only spot I could see if you'd want to back them from a survivor standpoint.
That's probably it. I'm with you because we talk about divisional spots. Obviously, Week 2, some people are going to take a bite of the apple there against the Giants. I understand that. But again, divisional spots can get tricky. So if you just cut out the divisional games there, I would look to that Cardinal game Week 9 at home in primetime on Monday night as a spot to shine. Because really then, do you want to go on the road out here to Las Vegas against the Raiders on Monday Night Football, like you would be probably favorites or at least to pick them depending on what the Raiders look like at that point of the season. But that would be a tricky spot. And then where do you wait? Look at the right end of that column. It gets tough.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Day against the Chiefs. Then you're going to Detroit. You're hosting the Vikings, hosting the Chargers. Then you're going to D.C. on Christmas before you have to end up the year at New York against the Giants in Jersey. It does get tough. Cowboys better get off on the good foot in the first two columns if you're backing that over. And by the way, I'm with you. I've already played 8.5 adjusted win total at plus $1.40 because I don't like laying that juice here at 7.5 because I do think it's going to be one of those years. If Dak Prescott is healthy, Brian Schottenheimer's been on the staff. I think people have forgotten that. Like, this is part of continuing kind of what Big Mike had gotten started with the offense. So Brian Schottenheimer, clearly he and Dak have something going. I'm not worried about that. I'm a little bit worried about the defense now with Mike Zimmer gone. Now we got to be able to make sure that defense can play. The health is always a concern. Trayvon Diggs, is he going to look the same at corner? You're hoping Micah Parsons stops podcasting a little bit and becomes maybe arguably the best defensive player in the league. So there are some issues there defensively, Jensen. But really, I do think this is a 9-10 win football team. Potentially if things break right for the Cowboys there. And maybe challenge the Commanders and the Eagles at 7-1 for that divisional crown. Wake up each and every day. Go to VSiN.com. We're going to have the great Wes Reynolds here. It's our Wednesdays with Wes later on to break down the Charles Schwab Challenge. His best bets are up. Greg Peterson's got his Major League Baseball plays for the day because he doesn't sleep. Zach Cohen, Game 1 preview. Pacers, Knicks at the world's most famous arena. Tyler Shoemaker's got his WNBA picks. Steve Makinen's going to have his analytics report for baseball. JD, the Iceman, his best bets in the NHL. 14 months VSiN Pro for just $199 by using the promo code PRO when you go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.